Hi, welcome back. And if you're new here, I'm Dhriti Bhavsar, your relationship coach. So let's get into today's question. I'm a 36-year-old male, and my wife of 6 years hit me for the first time last night. She had developed a mean streak over the past couple years, and we had also started fighting more and more. This time, the fight was over something that happened at a family event where she felt that my family insulted her. It started with a slap, and when she started hitting me harder, I pulled her off of me. She even scratched me and tried to punch me. I myself was very angry, so I just went over to a friend's place for the night. He asked about the scratches, but I felt too ashamed to admit that I got hit by my wife. Our marriage has been on the rocks for a while now, but I was sticking it out for our kid. I'm angry and shocked about this whole thing, and I don't know what to do. So, first of all, I understand why you would hesitate to reach out to your friend because there is so much shame associated around this topic of domestic violence in general, especially if the person at the receiving end of this violence is a man. But I want you to know that your wife being violent towards you is not really a comment on you as a man. In fact, it says more about her as a spouse and more about her as a person, that she is capable of domestic violence. Like, you getting hit by your wife is not a comment on your masculinity. You suffering through domestic abuse, and let's call it what it is domestic abuse. Even if it was just one slap, that is still physical abuse. So you suffering through domestic abuse does not make you any less of a man. In fact, I would like to appreciate how you handle this situation in the first place, because putting physical distance between you and your wife when she's in that aggravated state is best for you and your safety. Second thing I want to touch upon is, you said that your marriage has been a little bit rocky for a few years now, but you've been sticking it out for the sake of your child. So I want to say that in some cases, parents stay together despite not being in a happy marriage, and they put up with so much from their partners in general just for the sake of that marriage, because they think that them being together is helping the child, when in reality the child is just growing up in this very unhappy household. Children are very intuitive, they pick up on these things. They understand so much more than we can tell. So it might just be better for your child to be raised by two happy parents who have separated, as compared to two parents who are still together but very, very obviously unhappy people. But at the end of the day, it's going to be your call, because you know your situation best. Now, let's move into what you can do in this situation. So, immediately after this situation, when you've left the house, I would recommend that you take a few pictures if you have certain physical injuries or something of the sort. And if you think that it's severe enough or you're in a lot of pain, please, please, please don't hesitate to reach out for medical help. And see, I understand why you would hesitate as well, because doctors and nurses, or if you go to the ER, they will ask you questions, because like they have to, like, how did you get hurt? And I want you to be honest in this situation. Trust me, it might surprise you how helpful people can be instead of how judgmental they're willing to be. And you might just receive the proper medical care, and otherwise you might just receive the proper help that you would need in this situation. Speaking of help, we do have helplines specifically for victims of male, like, domestic abuse, male victims of domestic abuse, that are run by the government and in general. So you could reach out to those as well if you think your situation is getting out of hand and you can't handle it on your own. And definitely, I would recommend professional help as well. So, personally, I would say that in such a situation, the fact that you've been, hit even once is enough proof that you're not safe in this relationship. And I would recommend that you leave the marriage, or that you separate from this person for the sake of your own safety. And this is something that we've seen a lot, is that men are at a higher risk of sustaining more severe injuries because they don't speak up when, it's like, not that big of a deal. So say it ended at just, a slap and a couple of scratches, they're not going to tell anybody about it, and they'll be like, oh, it's okay, it doesn't hurt that bad right now. Or maybe they feel shameful in the first place for, receiving that. So this itself is a huge risk on your safety and probably for the safety of your child. So I would want you to consider that. Lastly, try opening up to at least one close friend. You are going to need as much social support as you can gather in this situation, because as a victim of domestic abuse, you're probably going through, a jumble of emotions, and most of them are not going to be positive. In fact, I doubt any of them are going to be positive. You're probably feeling angry, hurt, disappointed, violated, dejected, and most of all, you're feeling shocked. So you're going to need all the help and all the support that you can get. If you have siblings, I would very strongly recommend, if you have a good relationship with them, try talking to them, and you should try letting your family know as well. And if you are in a situation where leaving this marriage or separation is not realistically possible for you and you have to continue with the marriage, I would very strongly recommend you reach out for professional help in the form of, say, marital therapy or relationship counseling. And I would very, very strongly recommend some anger management for your spouse. However, your wife might not be willing for it for the same, which is why in the first place I recommended that you separate. So that's all I have for this question. And if you have any other questions, chime off in the comments below and I'll get back to you. All right. Thank you.